You may know that using tobacco causes serious health risks for people who smoke and vape. We're talking cancer, emphysema, addiction, to name a few. But did you know the harms of smoking and vaping don't stop there? Seriously. Sometimes our behaviors have consequences we never even think of. And that's especially true of exposure to secondhand and thirdhand smoke and aerosol. There are ways, however, to protect yourself and those you care about. And the team at the California Youth Advocacy Network wants to share them with you. So that we're all on the same page, let's start with secondhand smoke and secondhand aerosol. First of all, what are they? Secondhand smoke is the combination of smoke from a lit cigarette, cigar, other combustible tobacco products, or marijuana and the smoke breathed out by the user. Secondhand aerosol is the ultra-fine mist that users and those around them inhale and exhale while vaping. We've all been there. You're walking down the street and suddenly, bam, you smell it. You've been exposed to secondhand smoke or aerosol. And that smoke or aerosol contains a mixture of dangerous chemicals such as nicotine and heavy metals that can wind up in your lungs even though you were just standing there or walking by. Secondhand tobacco smoke has more than 7,000 chemicals, hundreds that are toxic and cause cancer. Now that we know what it is, let's talk about what it does. The Centers for Disease Control has made it clear through scientific evidence there's no safe level of exposure to secondhand tobacco smoke, regardless of whether it's outdoors or indoors. None. Zero. And then there's what happens to your pets. Did you know pets that are exposed to secondhand smoke are twice as likely to develop cancer? Fido and Fluffy would like you to sit, stay, and really hear that. Now, let's look at exposure to marijuana smoke. Did you know that smoking marijuana also produces secondhand smoke? It's true. In fact, airborne particles from smoking marijuana can create indoor air pollution that's as toxic as some of the worst wildfires. And exposure at certain concentrations can cause cardiovascular and respiratory disease. Not only does it contain many of the same toxic chemicals as tobacco secondhand smoke, it has even higher amounts of tar and ammonia, both highly poisonous chemicals. A 2018 statewide survey found that about 40% of adult Californians have been exposed to secondhand marijuana smoke while they were in public spaces like sidewalks, parks, and shopping areas. On top of that, recent studies have shown that non-smokers had detectable levels of THC, the main compound in marijuana, in their blood and urine simply from being exposed to secondhand marijuana smoke. That's a serious problem. And while it's been more than a decade since e-cigarettes were introduced to the American market, because of their relatively new status as harmful products, we still don't know their long-term health effects. Here's what we do know though. The aerosol from e-cigarettes contains particulate matter that can get lodged in the lungs and cause tissue inflammation. Let's shift our attention to something that gets even less attention: third-hand smoke and aerosol. Have you ever walked into a room and smelled stale smoke where no one is smoking? If so, you've experienced third-hand smoke. Third-hand smoke is basically the residual nicotine and other toxic chemicals left by tobacco smoke on indoor surfaces. Think of it as the leftover pollution after a cigarette is put out. It clings to hair, clothes, furniture, carpet, drapes, walls, bedding, even dust, long after smoking has stopped. And here's the kicker. You can be exposed to the same more than 250 toxic chemicals from tobacco smoke simply by touching contaminated surfaces, or breathing in what these porous surfaces are putting. E-cigarettes aren't any better when it comes to third-hand toxicity. Depending on the brand and size of the e-cigarette, they can disperse aerosol, which is a bunch of aerosol droplets of varying sizes which contain nicotine and other toxic chemicals onto surfaces we touch, including walls, beds, and especially the floor. The part about the floor is important. Think about it. Some of our favorite and vulnerable loved ones spend a lot of time there. Because of secondhand and third-hand smoke and aerosol droplets, babies and children breathe in and crawl around on when they play on floors, sit in cars, or are held by adults because third-hand smoke and aerosol droplets settles onto and into all of these surfaces. Oh, and look who's back. Say hello to Fido and Fluffy again. Where do they hang out the most? You guessed it, on the floor or on furniture. So now let's talk about what you can do to protect yourself and your family from secondhand and third-hand smoke and vapor. First of all, Don't allow anyone to smoke or vape anywhere in or near your home, especially if you have children, are a pregnant woman, or have pets. It's time to get serious about creating and supporting tobacco-free environments. And secondly, if you or someone you care about uses tobacco products, it's time to consider quitting. Support is available at 1-800-NO-BUTTS or nobutts.org and at 1-800-8-NO-VAPE or novapes.org. Here's the bottom line. The U.S. Surgeon General has concluded that there is a no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand and third-hand smoke and e-cigarette aerosol. They go on to state that establishing smoke-free environments is the only proven way to prevent exposure. So let's all work together to create a future with reduced exposure to secondhand and third-hand smoke, and where it's easier for everyone to be healthy and breathe.